He declared that he would do whatever it took to prove himself and earn everyone's recognition. The two men locked eyes, neither blinking, as if acknowledging that this challenge had been accepted. The scene shifts to Kunitachi City, in a crowded apartment complex. Kaiju number 9 had just shed his old body and undergone a transformation. While his appearance remained the same, it was entirely new. He grinned with satisfaction, feeling that his new body was now ready. "It's time to reclaim the power that has fallen into the hands of those humans," he said, brimming with confidence.
After that, Kikoru received a message about Kafka's death sentence being suspended. She was overjoyed, as if hope had been rekindled. But at that moment, Kikoru felt she needed to become stronger. It wasn't time to celebrate yet, because after witnessing the old man lose control, Kikoru knew that one day, she would have to stop Kafka herself. Suddenly, a voice rang out, "Sorry to keep you waiting, Soldier Shinomiya." Recognizing the voice of a high-ranking officer, Kikoru immediately stood at attention. It turned out to be Eiji, the deputy commander of the 1st Division. He had come to escort Kikoru to the base. At this moment, Eiji also mentioned that the 3rd Division would be stationed, together with the 1st Division, due to ongoing repairs at their base. Kikoru knew that this 1st Division was Japan's most elite unit. Even when she was studying in the U.S., she had heard of its legendary reputation. Indeed, this was a great opportunity to sharpen her skills. Then Eiji knocked on the commander's door. Kikoru felt nervous as she was about to meet the commander of Japan's strongest unit. She decided that she would learn everything she could from this commander. Then Eiji boldly introduced, "Here is the commander of Japan's strongest unit, Gen Narumi." But to their shock, he was wrapped in a blanket, playing video games. His eyes so bloodshot they looked ready to fall out. Eiji and Kikoru stood there in stunned silence. Eiji slammed the door shut, utterly embarrassed. Kikoru remained expressionless. Eiji told her to wait a moment. Then Eiji entered the room alone, where Narumi was still frantically grinding ranks, about to hit platinum. Eiji kicked Narumi's gaming table, sending it flying. Narumi's head slammed into the TV screen. But at that moment, Narumi was only concerned about his game console. He cursed Eiji for being heartless. Eiji, angered, said, "I thought I told you to clean your room, because I was supposed to arrive at 2 p.m. Narumi coldly responded, "Yes, I knew that, but whether I do it or not is my choice. The boss is still the boss." Too cool. But then Eiji kicked him again, sending Narumi crashing into his pile of toys. Eiji scolded him, lazy and trying to act cool. Narumi picked up his broken Gundam model and yelled, "My Gundam model, no." Narumi angrily pointed at Eiji and shouted, "This is my room. I can do whatever I want here." Eiji immediately retorted, "It's not even your room. Everything here is property of the defense force." Narumi then said, "If you find the mess so annoying, clean it yourself." The door opened, and Kikoru entered. She observed everything. Then Eiji grabbed Narumi by the collar like a cat, and ordered the staff to gather up the commander's stuff, and put it all in trash bags. Narumi, terrified, quickly decided to clean up himself. Then Eiji dragged Narumi over to Kikoru and introduced, "I'm pleased to introduce you to our commander, Narumi." Kikoru remained expressionless, as any respect she had for him had somehow dropped into the negatives. Narumi rested his chin on his hand and asked, "Oh, so you're the daughter of Isao that I've heard so much about?" At the mention of her father, Kikoru immediately saluted. After all, this man was her superior, and she couldn't be rude. "I am Kikoru Shinomiya from the 3rd Division. From today, I will be under the protection of the 1st Division. Please feel free to give me any orders." Hearing this, Narumi said, "No need to be so formal. I just need you to do one thing." Kikoru was still confused by his words, when suddenly a loud roar echoed. Narumi thought the timing was perfect. The 1st Division was about to show the 3rd Division something special. Narumi turned back and proudly continued, "All I need you to do is sit in the VIP seat and observe." At that moment, offshore, a massive dinosaur-like kaiju was lumbering towards the land. It had broken through the kaiju defense barrier on TV, and the news was broadcasting it live. The units were trying to evacuate the civilians on a large scale, before the beast got closer, and the 1st Division took action. A soldier was controlling his robot suit, and attacking with 2 Gatling guns on his shoulders, then followed up with infantry artillery fire. They were trying to inflict the first damage on the monster. At this moment, Kikoru was observing from a military helicopter. She immediately realized that the 1st Division had wisely used firepower and successfully guided the monster. Kikoru assessed that every individual in this division was outstanding. In fact, each of them had a combat power exceeding 40%, on par with a platoon leader. And so, they successfully directed the monster. Now it was time to engage directly. Narumi said, "It's time, Kikoru." He also said that Kikoru didn't need to worry about diligence. dignity, appearance, or anything else. The only thing he needed was for Kikoru to just stand by and watch. Then Narumi immediately grabbed his weapon and jumped down. It was a massive sword. He leaped from the aircraft and drove the sword straight into the monster's back. The moment the blade hit its mark, lightning sparked and a massive shockwave erupted, making the monster scream in agony. At that moment, Narumi pulled the trigger, and right where he stood, an explosion occurred. Kikoru watched in horror as a massive explosion erupted on the monster's back. Don't tell me, he's only going to demonstrate this once, she thought. Then the monster's flesh and guts flew everywhere. Another rain of blood. Eiji watched the scene without saying anything. He was used to it by now, while Narumi sat casually and told Kikoru, "Now, show me what you can do." He didn't care about things like politeness. If you don't have the skills, then Narumi considered you useless. At that moment, Kikoru realized this guy was pretty interesting. His philosophy was that strength is justice. By the way, this guy was also Japan's strongest kaiju fighter. After that, the footage of the kaiju's defeat was immediately uploaded online. On the front page of the news, Mina's picture was printed large, with a bold headline, "A stunning victory for the defense force." Kikoru rested her chin in her hand and read, while Narumi was fuming, because this newspaper was praising Mina, even though he was the one who killed the monster. Of course, Narumi's picture was there too, but it was tiny, barely the size of a fingertip. Narumi angrily shouted, "I'm the one who killed that damn monster. I knew Mina would steal the spotlight again." Then Narumi scrolled down to read the comments. Did Mina steal all of Narumi's credit? Bet he's pissed. Narumi looks ugly. A commander should look like this, not like him. Narumi felt depressed after reading those comments. He immediately found the users and blocked them from his profile. Then, he regretted it because he lost followers online. Kikoru was speechless, utterly disappointed. How could Japan's strongest commander care so much about things like that online? Kikoru then had to remind Narumi to answer his phone, because it had been ringing for a while. Narumi leaned back on a pile of documents and said, "It's nothing. Probably just old man Isao and old man Eiji calling for a meeting. Boring as hell, just a bunch of trivial stuff." Kikoru was surprised. Going to a meeting sounds like a casual outing to him. Narumi added, "I see no reason to go to those boring places at all." Just as he was boasting, his chair suddenly flew back. It turned out old man Eiji had arrived and kicked it. Kikoru sighed in disappointment. Eiji decided to grab Narumi by the ear and drag him away. Narumi turned around, irritated, and asked, "Is it that important?" Eiji responded with a serious face, "It's about Kaiju number 8. Well, now this is interesting." Meanwhile, Kafka was doing push-ups. It had already been 5 days, and Kafka hadn't done anything yet. He thought back to what old man Isao had said. He was eager to contribute. He was willing to do whatever the defense force asked, to return to his comrades as soon as possible. The door opened, and a group of soldiers appeared, ordering Kafka to follow them. The old man was taken to a room and stood next to Narumi. Kafka had no idea what was about to happen, but he quickly recognized the man next to him as Narumi, the current commander of the renowned 1st Division. While he was still confused, Commander Isao spoke up. "Hibino Kafka, I'm assigning you to the 1st Division." Kafka was shocked and Kikoru couldn't believe it either. Isao explained that by combining the strongest kaiju in history with the strongest warrior in history, they would have the ultimate team, capable of handling any kaiju incident. Isao declared that he was giving Kafka a chance, hoping that he would prove his worth to everyone, and, through that, win them over. Kafka felt both relieved and anxious, but at least there was a chance for survival. Even if he had to fight as Kaiju number 8, he didn't mind. He was about to accept the order, when suddenly Narumi refused. He said that he was enough on his own, so why add more people? Kafka was taken aback. Narumi really seemed like he wanted to leave. This guy must be crazy. At that moment, Isao spoke up. "You should remember that we've encountered Kaiju number 9 with shape-shifting abilities, and Kaiju number 10 with the ability to command monsters, targeting the defense force. They are entirely different from our previous understanding of Kaiju." At this, Narumi turned back to listen as Isao continued. "The essence of what we call a disaster is when humanity becomes arrogant and complacent. Clearly, Kaiju have made mysterious advancements, no less significant than the progress of humanity over the years. And because of this, Isao told Narumi, we must continue to move forward." Narumi turned back with a mocking smile and said, "So, that's all the faith you have in me? If you turned Kaiju number 8 into a weapon for me, that would make more sense." As soon as he said that, old man Isao felt a pang in his heart. This kid is really something else. But before he could respond, Kafka stood firmly in front of Narumi and spoke up. "Commander Narumi, I can't afford to die right now. I still have things to do. At least until they're done, I'll cling to anything I can." Kafka then saluted and confidently said, "Commander Narumi, I, Hibino Kafka, request to serve under your command, in the 1st Division." Kafka's eyes were wide with determination. staring straight into the dull eyes of the gamer Narumi. Narumi instinctively looked away and sighed. He said, "I don't care about your dreams or determination, Kafka. Instead, prove it, with your abilities. By the way," Narumi said before leaving, "if you lose control again, I'll skin you and turn you into my personal suit." Kafka was stunned, but as soon as Narumi closed the door, Kafka still shouted, "Thank you, sir." Some time later, the ground in a city began to shake. People thought it was an earthquake. The streets were shaking, the ground was cracking, and buildings were splitting apart. Then people realized something was off. There's no way an earthquake could be this strong. Sure enough, a massive hole was drilled deep, with no bottom in sight, hundreds of meters wide, right in the middle of Shinagawa. The people were horrified, not understanding what the hell was happening. They had never seen anything like this. Looking down into the black hole, countless glowing eyes were staring back up at them. They felt chills down their spines. Then suddenly, a mantis-like monster had emerged, followed by hundreds, thousands of them, terrifying the people. Meanwhile, at the First Division, after the morning training session, Kikoru immediately ran to Narumi's room to report something, but as soon as she opened the door, she saw the commander kneeling on the floor, begging for money, saying, "Please, Kikoru, do you have any money? Lend me some, please. Damn it, I don't understand how my salary ran out this month." Kikoru broke into a sweat, seeing the pile of Amazon boxes behind him. Kikoru immediately understood the situation. Unbelievable. This commander really has no shame. Kikoru couldn't take it anymore and started shouting. Just then, the alarm went off. An AG burst in, announcing that there was a mission. Both of them immediately stopped arguing. Shortly after, the First Division assembled. Narumi got dressed and boarded the plane, complaining that he was in the middle of an important transaction, when he was interrupted. The First Division members all seemed to have two-tone hair, except for AG, who was bald. Then, under Narumi's command, the entire unit launched to kick some monster butt. According to the intel they received, monsters were appearing in large numbers in Shinagawa. Most of the civilians had been evacuated into shelters. This time, they were heading towards shelter R56, where a young man was trying to find another way to get to the shelter, because the evacuating crowd had completely blocked the road. Meanwhile, his sister was injured, unable to walk. The boy reassured his sister that the First Division would definitely come. Their idol, Narumi, would definitely blow the monsters away with a single strike. But truth be told, the kid was scared to death and on the verge of tears. Just then, a spider-like monster appeared, as big as a tank. The siblings were terrified as the monster noticed them and advanced. The brother didn't hesitate and stood up, spreading his arms to protect his sister. Even in such a dangerous moment, the boys still believed that idol Narumi would come and save them. The monster, facing such a delicious meal, began to open its mouth wide. It hadn't eaten anything since last Monday. But suddenly, the monster's back was pierced and torn apart. Sure enough, idol Narumi had appeared with his massive sword in hand. The monster was taken down immediately. With just one strike, the monster's body collapsed, crashing onto the car beside it. Narumi's entrance was too cool. The boy would never forget this moment for the rest of his life. The boy shouted, "Narumi." But Narumi wasn't pleased. He said, "Calling a commander's name without an honorific is rude. You'll be punished by returning home safely and posting online 10 times. Idol Narumi is awesome." The boy immediately agreed. Then the soldiers took the two children away. Narumi began checking the status of the other two squads, Kanashi and Maek. Kanashi reported that they had spotted 4 monsters and were awaiting orders to engage. Meanwhile, Maek reported that the area had been secured. Narumi ordered them to prioritize rescuing civilians first. After that, they would proceed to eliminate the monsters as needed, or herd them into the defense force traps. Although Narumi was a hardcore gamer, on the battlefield, he was a formidable commander. And so, the squads of the First Division all took their positions, ready for battle. Then, he contacted Shinomiya Kikoru and Hibino Kafka, telling them to eliminate all the monsters in the secured area. Since the civilians there had been fully evacuated, Narumi would be watching to see how these two rookies performed, especially Kaiju number 8, said to be the strongest in history. Kafka and Kikoru were waiting for this moment. This was Kafka's chance to shine. Could the old man finally step into the spotlight? And so, Kafka and Kikoru split up. Kikoru went to the eastern battlefield, while Kafka headed to the western battlefield. Narumi's eyes lit up, anticipating their performance. The old man remembered Isao's words, his determination rising. Kafka instinctively felt nervous, because he didn't want to disappoint the old man. Then, over the radio, they reported that the decoy team had successfully lured a swarm of monsters into the eastern battlefield. They requested the force to eliminate the enemy. Upon hearing this, Kikoru requested to charge in first. After unlocking her combat power, she boldly stepped forward, holding her massive battle axe, waiting for the enemy. The spiders began marching, Clawing at the ground, Kikoru announced the start of the battle and donned her mask. Her battle had begun. Narumi also instructed squad leader Shinonome to provide support to Kikoru if necessary. The first spider aggressively appeared. Its body far larger than expected. Every move it made caused loud destruction. Shinonome signaled to Kikoru, and she immediately charged with her axe. The first strike, the Thunder Axe, slashed across the monster's torso, instantly tearing its flesh apart. A report rang out. Member Shinomiya. Kikoru successfully took down a monster, shocking the squad leaders. Kikoru continued to spin her axe behind her, and an image of Vice Commander Hashina flashed in her mind as he struck swiftly. She suddenly felt that she needed to be faster. Then Kikoru raised her axe again and charged. This time, Kikoru recalled Commander Ashiro Mina's shot. She wanted to be able to deliver such powerful blows. One strike of the axe, with earth-shattering force. The unfortunate monster was instantly cut in half. Another report rang out. Member Shinomiya took down another monster. Narumi took notice. Shinonome also praised her, saying this girl is indeed impressive. Meanwhile, the old man was still struggling. Not a single monster had entered his area yet. He could only listen to the battle reports and praise the blonde's achievements. Suddenly, another spider emerged behind Shinonome. Kikoru immediately pointed her pistol and said, "Captain Shinonome, please stay alert." The squad leader felt a bit offended by the comment. A rookie reminding me. She licked her lips and said, "I didn't expect Kikoru to be so likable." Shinonome also told Kikoru, "I hope the two of us become close soon." Then she raised her Gatling gun, and the two of them fought back to back. At this point, Kanashi was skeptical, wondering how a first-year rookie could be this strong. He even thought that this blonde girl might be stronger than Narumi was in his first year, which made Narumi start to argue loudly. But more importantly, Narumi felt something odd about this battle. It was these monsters. Damn. He just realized they were ants. Narumi said that these ants rarely come to the surface. Except for that incident with the tunnel workers before. They have never appeared in such large numbers. The radio buzzed, advising the Western forces to be cautious. Right where Kafka was stationed, the old man slapped his face to refocus. Meanwhile, inside the regiment's base, the general commander sat silently, watching Kafka's performance, along with dozens of other monitors. The one-eyed old man and Itami were also anxious, eager to see Kaiju number 8's abilities on the battlefield. Kafka had identified a giant ant approaching. Sure enough, within seconds, it burst through the streets and revealed itself. Kaiju number 8 had reached the target. The ant immediately raised its mandibles and struck at Kafka. He partially transformed and dodged with speed, then used his rocket arm to punch the monster in the chest. The ant looked at him dumbfounded, as if to ask, "Damn, is that all you've got?" Kafka was equally confused, failing to inflict any real damage. The ant lunged its sharp mandibles, tearing through the ground. Kafka barely managed to leap aside. He seemed helpless against this enemy. Itami wondered, why isn't Kaiju number 8 fully transforming? Isao just frowned, continuing to watch in silence. Meanwhile, Kafka was getting frustrated. He realized that without a full transformation, he couldn't fully synchronize his power to the desired level. But the thought of going berserk and attacking the general commander made Kafka hesitate. Fully transforming carried the risk of losing control. At that moment, the ant began to spit, preparing to launch its acidic attack. Kafka knew something bad was coming. Sure enough, a stream of burning acid shot out. Kafka was furious. Damn this ant. He couldn't hesitate any longer. Kafka decided to fully transform and score some points. He still had to fight alongside Mina. Kafka's entire body began to manifest Kaiju number 8's skin. The monitor announced that Kaiju number 8 was emerging. Lightning crackled all around. But suddenly, Kafka's transformation shattered into pieces. Kafka was stunned. The observers were equally shocked. Then, an ant's leg swung at him, sending Kafka flying into a wall. Everyone realized that Kafka's transformation had failed. He was crushed into a corner of the wall. Damn it! Kikoru and Isao were both worried. Kafka didn't understand what was happening. But something even more surprising was unfolding. Another Kaiju core was emerging. The squad leaders wondered where it was. It was right beneath Kaiju number 8. Narumi was also shocked. No way. The ground beneath Kafka began to rise. An ant with Kaiju number 9 on its back appeared. Narumi realized that this new Kaiju was targeting Kaiju number 8. It seemed Kaiju number 8 was the real objective. Sure enough, after its bizarre emergence, Kaiju number 9 took form. Everyone immediately recognized its identity. A scene of shock. Kaiju number 9 rubbed its head and said, "How strange. Weird, I can sense number 8 here, but where is it?" Then he looked down at Kafka and said, "Could it be you?" Kafka vaguely realized, this number 9 also has the ability to sense Kaiju like he does. But before he could react, number 9 shot him in the chest. Number 9 figured one shot would be enough to tell. Sure enough, Kafka began to scream in pain. Narumi saw this and realized things were bad. He quickly contacted the control room to ask about Kafka's transformation status. The result was another failure. The energy fragments shattered. AG warned that at this rate, Kaiju number 8 would die. Narumi decided to jump in and assist directly. Since this number 9 Kaiju wasn't just a pushover. But before he could move, the ground beneath Narumi cracked open. What the hell? Another number 9 Kaiju appeared right there. The control team reported that this was indeed a second number 9 Kaiju on the field. AG was shocked, unable to believe it. Narumi speculated it might be a cloning ability. Or maybe there were two all along. Shinonome quickly assessed the situation and decided to take over command to rescue Kaiju number 8. But before she could move, the monsters began to revive. They realized this was exactly what had been mentioned in the report from Unit 3. Shinonome knew that. According to the report, after these creatures revive, their strength increases even more. And sure enough, that was happening. Reports were coming in from all over that the monster's strength had indeed increased. The control room admin was overwhelmed. The battlefield was too vast to manage. He didn't know how to distribute resources or handle the situation. The scale of this revival seemed much larger than what Unit 3 had faced before. Eiji and Narumi, with their combat experience, quickly recognized it. The moment of transformation was also when Kaiju number 9 appeared. At this moment, Kaiju number 9 appeared, with massive chunks of flesh surrounding it. The process of sowing his seeds was complete. He turned towards Kafka. The old man sat there, heavily injured. He pointed his swollen finger, ready to shoot, and in a dry voice said, "Now, Kaiju number 8, I will kill you." Bullets were fired. Kafka was still hit by one despite trying to dodge. Now he understood how troublesome it is not to evade the enemy's attacks. It's going to be a problem. The insect charged without hesitation, ramming him mid-air. Kafka was thrown off and sprawled on the ground. Kafka really wanted to defeat this guy, but for some reason, he couldn't transform. It's so frustrating. But number 9 gave him no time to concentrate and transform. He was ready with a mortar barrage, intending to send Kafka to his grave. Number 9 uttered his final words to his opponent. "So long, Kafka. It's over for you." At the last moment, a girl wielding a massive axe rushed in from behind. Kafka was stunned, seeing Kaiju number 9 split in two, right before his eyes. Number 9 was so shocked he couldn't comprehend what happened. As Kikoru landed, the insect-turned Kaiju collapsed to the ground. Kikoru still gripped her battle axe firmly. Knowing it wasn't over yet, Kafka gasped as he called her name. Meanwhile, Kaiju number 9 was regenerating like crazy. It angrily demanded, "Who are you? Who the hell are you?" Kikoru confidently replied, "It doesn't matter if you don't remember me. Today, I will send you to your grave anyway." Kikoru and Kafka faced Kaiju number 9. As it was finishing its regeneration, Kafka gritted his teeth, looking at Kaiju number 9. Once again, regretting that he hadn't destroyed it last time. Kikoru's eyes were filled with determination, staring directly at the enemy within the area. Commander-in-Chief Isao was silently observing. At this moment, Isao really wanted to rush into the battlefield, because his only daughter was facing a designated kaiju. But the old man Itami beside him quickly understood, and stopped him, saying he couldn't go out there. "Isao, if you keep using the kaiju weapon like this, it will shorten your lifespan, and it will kill you." Isao relaxed after hearing this. He calmly said, "I know that. This is a challenge that the younger generation must overcome to succeed us." Kafka told Kikoru that he couldn't transform, even though he had tried many times. Kikoru quickly realized that maybe this Kaiju number 9 had done something to him. Now, Kaiju number 9 also started firing. The massive chunks of flesh on its body began to contract simultaneously. The old man shouted, "It's coming." Right after, the area where the two were standing exploded. Kikoru shouted, "Old man Kafka, I'll attack it now to stop its movement. If it's this Kaiju number 9 that's preventing your transformation, then in the moment it's recovering. Seize that opportunity." Kafka listened intently as Kikoru continued. "Although it's annoying, the truth is, I need your strength to defeat it." Kafka confidently replied, "Understood." Then the two split up and moved into action. Kaiju number 9 saw this and lamented, "You guys. This isn't fair to me, so I'll do this." And then, sure enough, number 9 split itself into two. To Kikoru's astonishment, the old man over here, even though he tried to dodge, got hit several times. While Kikoru swung her axe to fend off the incoming bullets, Kikoru remarked, "This kaiju is really unpredictable." Then suddenly, Kaiju number 9 leaped onto the wall and fled rapidly. Then it raised its hand and fired at Kikoru. She destroyed most of the bullets, but one lodged straight into her stomach. Kafka shouted Kikoru's name in worry. Meanwhile, Kaiju number 9 declared that he had taken down an enemy, but what he didn't expect was that Kikoru wasn't defeated. She charged forward, her axes raised behind her. Kaiju number 9's eyes widened in horror. He tried to lean back to avoid Kikoru, determined not to be easily defeated, without a fight to the limit. Meanwhile, this time she had someone to protect. Kikoru charged forward and swung her axe with incredible speed. With each strike, came tremendous destructive power. But this kaiju also had formidable combat skills. He skillfully dodged the attacks. Itami, sitting in the control room, was observing. After watching the battle, he marveled. I didn't expect the girl to have advanced this much. It feels like I'm seeing her mother when she was young. Yes, that was Isao's wife, who had sacrificed herself. Hearing this, Isao suddenly remembered those days. His wife, Hyaki, was an outstanding warrior of the defense force. And a beauty of Japan. She often appeared on TV, because of her achievements. And little Kikoru would always beam with joy when she saw her mother on TV. Hyaki donned gear made from Kaiju number 4. And appeared like a Valkyrie. Wherever she went, the monsters were eradicated. Kikoru's friends always admired the heroine. When they found out she was Kikoru's mother, they would always ask about her and express their admiration. This made Kikoru feel like going to school was like meeting fans. She lived in the glory of her mother that way. When Hyaki came home after a long day without rest, Kikoru would rush and jump straight into her arms. Every time, Isao had to remind his daughter that her mother was tired and needed to rest. But instead, Hyaki would jump into playing with her daughter, always asking her if she had behaved well today. This scene would leave even the cold and stern Isao speechless. He could only pat her head and smile. Kikoru proudly said that while everyone was evacuating to the school shelter, everyone praised her mother. Hyaki felt reassured. Upon learning that at school, no one was injured, Kikoru suddenly noticed her mother's arm was hurt. She asked about it and was told that today's monster was a bit stronger than usual. So her mother got a scratch on her arm. Kikoru looked at her mother with sympathy and declared, "From now on, I will join the defense force and protect you, Mom." Hyaki looked at Isao, who seemed surprised. While Hyaki smiled happily, she smiled brightly and said that by then, if anything happens to Kikoru, she would definitely come to her rescue. After that, Hyaki sacrificed herself in the mission to destroy Kaiju number 6. This time, it was the most devastating disaster in Japan's history of fighting Kaiju. 300 soldiers were killed, along with 3 unit commanders. And especially the heroine Hyaki. That dark shadow cast over the entire nation. During that time, Kikoru sat silently. She couldn't accept the truth. Kikoru felt that she was the one who lied, because she had promised to protect her mother but couldn't. Tears started to stream down her face uncontrollably. Kikoru turned to her father, only to see a cold, lifeless face. Kikoru quickly wiped away her tears. She stood up and apologized to her father for not being able to protect her mother and left. Back to the present. That's the reason why Kikoru has been seeking power. All this time, she wants to protect everyone on her battlefield. In place of her mother. As long as she's there, no one will die. Kikoru gritted her teeth and continued to fight bravely.